What if everything you know about not giving up is wrong? We treat burnout like a broken engine. We pour in more fuel, more coffee, more willpower, more late nights. But the engine still sputters. What if it's not the engine? What if you're just driving on the wrong road toward a city you never wanted to visit? You know the feeling. It's not just being tired. It's a specific, soul-crushing kind of exhaustion. It's staring at a blinking cursor for 45 minutes, your mind a perfect blank, anxiety buzzing in your chest like a trapped fly. It's promising yourself you will go to the gym tomorrow for the 300th day in a row, the guilt now a familiar, heavy blanket you wear every morning. It's feeling a wave of resentment when a friend asks about your passion project, the one now gathering digital dust in the corner of your hard drive. You used to love it. Now, the thought of it just makes you feel like a failure, so you try the solutions. You buy the expensive planner. You download the productivity app that promises to gamify your life. You the 2-minute rule, and it works for a week. Then life hits. The system designed to help you becomes another tyrant. You feel like it's failed subject, and so you rebel. The rebellion looks like scrolling on your phone for 2 hours. The problem was never a lack of tactics. It was a broken philosophy. You were whipping a tired horse. If you have ever felt that your willpower is a leaky bucket, that you are running on fumes, hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments when was the last time you felt truly, deeply drained, not just tired. Today I am going to show you a 3-part system, a secret method hidden inside a powerful Japanese concept that rewires your very idea of effort. It transforms exhaustion into purpose, not more stress. This is not about trying harder. It is about trying differently. It is called Ganbaru, a Japanese term you have probably heard, often mistranslated as do your best. That translation misses the point. It is not about frantic, desperate effort. It is the practice of enduring, of persevering with dignity through a difficult situation. It is not for show, not for a trophy, but because the challenge itself is a part of your path. We think perseverance is a violent war against our lazy selves. The truth is, it is a quiet commitment, like a tree standing firm in a storm. The system has 3 parts: accept the season, polish the stone, become the tree. To see this in action, meet Leo Evans. Leo is 34 years old and a music teacher at Northwood Secondary School. He earns $42,000 a year, with $30,000 in student debt still hanging over him. He works 60-hour weeks grading papers, planning lessons, and conducting a choir of disinterested teenagers. He wants one thing: to inspire a genuine love for music in his students. He wants to feel that his work, his degree, his life's calling has meaning. What stands in his way is a system that only cares about standardized test scores, a culture of apathy he cannot seem to crack, and his own growing, gnawing cynicism. The incident happened at the annual winter concert. The hall was packed with parents holding their phones up, a sea of tiny glowing screens. Leo stood before his choir, his back to the audience, his hands raised. The students were mumbling the lyrics, their voices flat and off-key. He could feel the disinterest radiating from them. He started to push. He pushed his voice, hissing instructions over the music. Project. Feel the words. He pushed his gestures, trying to physically pull the passion out of them. His conducting became more frantic, a desperate pantomime of enthusiasm. Then, mid-chorus, as he strained to give them one more directive, his voice cracked. Not a small crack. It shattered. It disappeared into a painful, rasping whisper. The sound that came out was air and gravel. He could not speak. He stood there, frozen, his hands still suspended in the air. The choir, confused and without direction, faltered. One by one, they stopped singing. The piano played a few last, lonely notes before it too fell silent. The only sound in the hall was the uncomfortable shifting of hundreds of people in their seats. He saw a parent in the front row lower their phone, a look of pity on their face. The consequences were swift and brutal. The school paper gave the concert a 1-star review, calling it an embarrassment to the music department. 3 separate parents emailed the principal, formally requesting their children be moved out of his class for the following semester. The cost was more than financial. It was the complete erosion of his professional credibility. Sitting alone in his empty classroom afterward, the silence was absolute. His internal monologue was a single, devastating loop. This is it. I have nothing left to give. I am a failure at the one thing I thought was my calling. Maybe it is time to just quit. So Leo did what any rational, burned-out person would do. He declared war on his own burnout. He spent over $500 on books with titles like Teach Like a Pirate and The Unmotivated Student. He bought a 3-month subscription to a productivity app that promised to gamify his life. He tried to implement a complex, color-coded points system in his classroom, spending his Sunday nights printing out reward tickets and plotting behavior charts. It was a spectacular failure. The students saw the points system as another game to beat, finding loopholes and arguing over fairness. The new, energetic teaching techniques felt like a cheap performance, a hollow echo of the passion he once had. After 3 months and all that money, he was more exhausted than when he started. He was trying to fix a broken spirit with better tactics, and it was like putting a new coat of paint on a collapsing wall. The moment of true despair came in the staff room. Pinned to the main notice board, right next to the fire drill schedule, was the 1-star review of the winter concert. Someone, likely a colleague he considered a friend, had circled the word embarrassment in red pen and scribbled LOL underneath. Leo stood there, holding his lukewarm coffee. He didn't feel anger. He felt nothing. A perfect, hollow emptiness. The fight was gone. He started eating his lunch outside, on a bench near the school's forgotten Zen garden, just to avoid the staff room. For a week, he just sat there, chewing his sandwich, watching the elderly groundskeeper, Mr. Tanaka. Every day, without fail, the old man would rake the gravel into perfect, flowing lines around the moss and stones. And every day, without fail, a group of teenagers would cut through, scuffing the patterns into chaos. Mr. Tanaka would watch them go, sigh quietly, and simply begin again. One Tuesday, his own frustration boiling over, Leo finally spoke to him. "Why do you even bother? They're just going to ruin it again tomorrow." Mr. Tanaka didn't look up from his raking. His motion was steady, rhythmic. "The garden is not for them," he said, his voice calm. "The caring for it is for me. It is my practice. The wind and the boys are just part of the day." The sentence hung in the air. It is my practice. It wasn't about the result, the perfect garden. It was about the act itself, the commitment, the dignity in the repetition, regardless of the outcome. This was the first, quiet whisper of a different way. This is the first principle of Ganbaru. Accept the season. You cannot fight the weather. You cannot argue with a storm. Your exhaustion, your cynicism, your feeling of being stuck. This is not your failure. This is your current season. Resistance, the desperate struggle to not feel this way, is what creates most of the suffering. Acceptance is not surrender. It is the act of stopping the war with reality so you can finally build a stable foundation on solid ground. The next morning, in his classroom before the bell, Leo took out a fresh notebook. He wrote a single sentence at the top of the page. "My season is winter." Then he wrote what was true. "I am tired. My voice is weak. My students are uninterested. I feel like a failure." He did not follow the thoughts with, "But I should be better," or "I need to fix this." He just let the sentences sit there. He acknowledged the storm. The result was not a miracle. The students still filed in noisily, but something was different. The mental scream of, "I should be inspiring them right now," had quieted to a whisper. He had created a small, silent space between himself and his burnout. For the first time in a year, his shoulders weren't touching his ears. The war was over. Now, he could finally begin to build. The bell would ring in 10 minutes. Leo stood in his classroom, the silence a stark contrast to the storm that used to rage in his head. The war was over. Now he could finally begin to build. But with what? The grand ambition of inspiring a love of music felt like trying to empty an ocean with a teacup. It was too big, too abstract. He needed a tool. The second principle arrived not as a grand revelation, but as a quiet instruction he gave himself. Polish the stone. Ganbaru is not one heroic leap. It is the commitment to one small, repeatable action. The stone cutter doesn't break the rock with one blow, but with many small, consistent taps. His goal was no longer to transform his entire curriculum. It was to fill the first 15 minutes of class with one thing: a single, clear, C major chord on the ukulele. The students filed in, their apathy a tangible force. Leo held up a ukulele. "For the next 15 minutes, he said, his voice still a bit rough, "we do one thing. We make this one chord sound perfect." A groan rippled through the room. One chord, for 15 minutes. "This is stupid," a kid in the back muttered. The old Leo would have argued, would have tried to inspire them with a speech. The new Leo simply nodded. "It might be. Let's do it anyway." He demonstrated. The C major chord. He placed his fingers on the frets, one by one. He strummed. It sounded thin, weak. C, not perfect. He did it again. And again. He walked them through the finger placement, his focus entirely on the geometry of their hands, the pressure on the strings. He wasn't trying to create musicians. He was trying to create a clear sound. Just one. Day 2, the same chord, the same 15 minutes, less groaning, more focused sighs. Day 4, he noticed a girl, Sarah, who usually stared out the window, looking intently at her own fingers, her brow furrowed in concentration. She strummed. A clean, resonant sound rang out. Her eyes widened, just for a fraction of a second, before she schooled her features back into boredom. Week 2, Leo stood at the front of the class. "Okay, from the top. On my count." He raised his hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it happened. Not a cacophony. Not a mess. A unified, surprisingly robust C major chord echoed through the room. It was one sound. He looked out. 23 students, all holding ukuleles, all producing the same note. He did a quick survey. Hands up if you just played that cleanly. 20 hands went up, 90% of his class. A small, tangible win. A stone polished. Progress wasn't a straight line. It was a scene. It was 3 weeks in, and Leo was walking through the hallway. 2 of his students, Kyle and Jake, were at their lockers. He saw Jake mimicking the finger placement on his locker door. "No, dude, your thumb is supposed to be on the back, like this," Kyle said, adjusting his friend's hand. "You're messing up the C." They weren't talking about a video game, they were talking about the chord. The one chord. But the bigger picture was still broken. The principal, Dr. Vance, passed him in the hall. "Still on the one-note symphony, Mr. Evans?" She asked, not unkindly, but with a dismissive smile. The school's metrics for success, standardized test scores, exam readiness, were completely untouched by his small victory. His student debt was still a $30,000 anchor. The foundation was laid, but it was fragile, and a storm was forecast. He had learned to polish the stone, but he didn't yet know what he was building, or why he was building it in the first place. For 10 days, Leo walked through the school halls like a ghost. The principal's words in that staff meeting, "Return to the standard curriculum, or we will have to consider your position," echoed in his mind a constant, cold threat. He reverted completely. The ukuleles were put away, The slow, mindful practice of a single chord was replaced by frantic, date-filled lectures on music theory designed to cram for the upcoming exams. The spark that had taken 2 weeks to ignite was snuffed out in a single afternoon. The students' faces, which had briefly shown focus, returned to a familiar, glazed boredom. The other teachers in the lounge would fall silent when he entered, their pity a heavier burden than their criticism. His internal monologue was a relentless, familiar voice. "See, I knew it. Trying something different is too risky. The system always wins. It's easier to just be lazy and collect the paycheck. Why bother? Why put your neck out when it just gets chopped off? Everyone else can manage this. Why can't I?" He spent his evenings staring at the television, the guilt of physical weight on his chest. He was not just failing, he was choosing to fail. He had surrendered. The moment of choice arrived on a cold, gray morning. He was walking into school, bracing for another day of soul-crushing lectures, when he saw Mr. Tanaka. The Zen garden was a disaster zone. A night of heavy rain and strong winds had plastered it with dead leaves, broken twigs, and mud. It was a total loss. Leo watched, expecting to see frustration, maybe even defeat on the old man's face. Instead, Mr. Tanaka simply surveyed the damage. He gave a small, almost imperceptible nod, as if to say, "Yes, this is what happened." Then, he picked up his rake and began. His movements were the same as always, calm, deliberate, rooted. He wasn't fixing it for anyone else. He was simply engaging in his practice, his ritual. The storm was just weather. The garden was his purpose. In that moment, standing in the damp chill, Leo understood the final principle. It was not enough to accept his season of burnout. It was not enough to polish the small stone. He had to become the tree. A tree doesn't grow for the birds that nest in its branches or for the praise of people who enjoy its shade. It grows because it is its nature to grow. Its roots are sunk deep into something invisible, something unwavering. External validation, the principal's approval, a good review, a lack of complaints. That was just weather. It was wind and rain. It could not uproot him unless he had no roots of his own. He didn't feel inspired. He felt tired. But for the first time in 10 days, he did something despite the feeling. He went to his classroom, opened a fresh page in his notebook, and at the top, he wrote, "Why did I become a teacher?" He forced himself to write the answer, not the cynical one, but the true one from a decade ago. To share the language of music, to show others that they too can speak it. That was his root. That was the why, deeper than any paycheck or performance review. His effort, his Ganbaru, would now be the trunk growing from that root. He walked into the principal's office. He didn't go in angry or defensive. He was calm. He had already accepted the potential consequence. "Decker Evans," he said, his voice steady, "I will not be returning to the standard curriculum. The one-chord method is how I teach resilience and mastery. The exam results will be my responsibility, but I will teach the whole student, not just the test taker." He was choosing to continue, and the price was crystal clear. He could lose his job, his steady income, his professional reputation at the school. He had chosen his route over the storm, and in doing so, he was no longer just a teacher in a classroom. He was becoming something unshakable. 2 years later, Leo's life is now a testament to a different kind of effort. He still teaches at Northwood Secondary, but it is no longer his prison, it is his garden. His online music school, born from his one-chord method, now has 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. It generates $80,000 a year, allowing him to pay off $30,000 of his student debt. He teaches 30 dedicated students online from all over the world. The exhaustion has been replaced by a steady, sustainable energy. He is the same man in the same school, but he is living in a different reality. The winter concert. The hall is packed. The same parents, the same expectant air. But the energy on stage is entirely new. Leo's choir is focused, not fearful. Midway through a complex piece, a young tenor misses his entry, his eyes widening in panic. A year ago, Leo would have strained, his face a mask of desperate control, his own anxiety infecting the entire group. Now, he simply meets the student's gaze. His hands, conducting, don't jerk, they soften. He gives a single calm, reassuring nod. It's a silent message, it's okay. This is part of it. Find your way back. The student takes a breath, finds the melody, and slips back into the harmony. The performance continues, not as a flawless robotic display, but as a living, breathing, human expression of music. The final note hangs in the air, and the applause that follows is not polite, but thunderous, a wave of genuine connection and joy. Afterward, the principal, the same one who had once publicly questioned his methods, finds him backstage. "Leo, that was incredible," she says, her tone a mixture of admiration and confusion. "What changed? How did you turn this entire program around?" Leo wipes the neck of his water bottle, a small, quiet smile on his face. "I stopped trying to build a perfect concert," he says, "and started focusing on building resilient musicians. I learned to stand firm even when the wind blows." So, how can you apply this Ganbaru system to your own life? It boils down to 3 principles. First, accept the season. Acknowledge your current struggle without judgment. It is your reality, not your failure. Second, polish the stone. Commit to one small, imperfect action every single day. Consistency trumps intensity. Third, become the tree. Root your effort in a deeper purpose, a why that is unshakable by external praise or criticism. Ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. What season am I in right now? Burnout, growth, or stability? 2. What is my on chord? What is the one small action I can take today? 3. What is the deep root that makes this effort meaningful to who I am? Your first step. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before the world demands anything of you, spend just 60 seconds in silence. Acknowledge how you truly feel. That simple, brave act of acceptance is your first act of Ganbaru. This isn't about a magical transformation. It's about a fundamental shift. It's about replacing the frantic struggle with a dignified, persistent practice. Leo is still a teacher, but now, his effort is an extension of his purpose, not a fight against his circumstances. If this idea of building systems that last, rather than relying on fleeting willpower, resonates with you, I have a video for you right here on creating anti-fragile habits. And I would love to know in the comments, what is the one small stone you will choose to polish today?